like probably most of you out there, have spent the past couple of nights testing Automobilista 2's latest update, 1.6. And for as much as I was curious about the online competition with LFM coming into the fold, it's offline racing with AI that's really the draw to me for this sim. With the big catalog of historic cars and tracks, it seems like a natural fit to put on races to try to simulate some of those races of old. And one of my favorite types of cars to do that in is obviously the vintage CART IndyCars, specifically here, the 2000 variant. And so I've brought these insane machines to a track that actually has never had IndyCar racing, Road Atlanta. It is one of the new tracks in the 1.6 update. So we'll have ourselves a little race here, a half-distance race, to talk about what I've found so far that's really great about 1.6 and AI racing, and then maybe what probably still needs to be worked on a little bit.
Get ready.
Alright, Road Atlanta and the CART 2000 IndyCars. This is an insane combo. It's really fun, but they're very fast. These cars are so fast. Maybe a bit too fast for this track, and that's maybe why they never raced here. CART and IndyCar never actually raced at Road Atlanta. But I can't imagine this track was much more dangerous than a lot of the other tracks they raced on in the era. So for whatever the reason, they never did. But we can in Automobilista 2. This is one of the new tracks that was added with the 1.6 update. And I've been doing some testing with the AI. Mostly these retro Indy cars, since it's the ones I've got a lot of experience in this sim, but some other cars as well. And I've set ourselves up here for a race just to see how it goes. 40 laps, which would be roughly half a distance, I think, of a real IndyCar race if they ever held one here. It's about 100 miles. And I've set up the fuel and tire wear to be 2x, so we should have to pit, I think, twice, and I'm very, very eager to see if the AI do the same, and if we have a good race here. I've set them up to be quite quick, so it's going to be a tough race. I do not expect to win, but if I can get a top 10, I'd be pretty happy with that. And if everybody behaves and we have a pretty good time, I'd also be happy with that. Been enjoying the 1.6 update a lot. With the AI changes and stuff, there's a lot of good stuff happening. There's some stuff that hasn't really changed, and there's a few things I've noticed that might be stuff to fix in the future. But overall, it's been a lot of fun. So we'll get doubled up here. I'm driving. Thank you, Jim. I've got crew chief on as well in the background, which I very much enjoy for this type of stuff. And I'm driving Gilles de Ferran's car, which was added, I think, a bit after the update. Gilles sadly passing away this year, but it's such an iconic livery, and especially for this era, it fits quite nicely. All right, we'll come down and get the start and see what I can do here.
Great.
Side. So tiptoe around. You do not want to touch very many of the curbs around Road Atlanta in a car like this. So we got a car right in my gearbox there. You got the turn all wrong. Focus forward down to third gear for the top of the hill, and gently on the accelerator because it's so easy to spin the tires, especially over bumps. But over those rises, the car gets really light. Down a couple of gears. We still got colder tires and quite a lot of fuel. Nearly a full tank. We could take slightly more, but I don't think we have to. And I'll need all the performance I can get. Onto the backstretch for the first time, though. Up the gears, up to fifth gear. Try not to pit maneuver myself. He still has the inside, but able to out-accelerate, out the chicane, over the top of the hill. Just gonna keep it on the inside. We'll come across the line. For some reason, the line, yeah, it's halfway down the straightaway. I don't know why. Goes side by side through turn one. He's hanging it in there. There we go. Finally, get in front. So the AI still love to hang out on your rear wing. If they're within 2 or 3 tenths of you, they're going to be right there through slow corners. This will run a bit wide and slow over the top of the hill. I'll block that inside line. Once you break that 2-3 tenth gap between them, they will hang back, and the field gets nicely spread out. There is a big speed difference between the fastest and the slowest cars. We've got a nice little pack in front here, headed down to the chicane. I've seen some dramas down here. Hopefully we can avoid anything that happens.
Leader's just done it, 104.76.
104s are pretty quick. If the line was where it should be, I might be able to do it, but we're racing. I think it's Christian Fittipaldi's standing in front. Oh, a big block up there. I'm gonna have a flat spot on that left front. I can just see it, which is one of the new additions, is the visual flat spots. That's gonna hurt me. Hopefully it won't happen too many more times. I don't quite feel it in the wheel yet.
Left rear tire looks a little hot.
You can see the left front. I've had comments about this before on videos with AMS2. You can see on my tire gauge, which I've left on in the bottom right, that that left front looks destroyed now, just from one little lockup, which isn't too unrealistic, to be honest, but
don't let this guy distract you.
What that gauge is showing you, from what I've learned, is the worst spot on the tire, how much wear there is. So on the flat spot, that's how worn it is, but the rest of the tire isn't quite that bad. Maybe more than minor, as these guys mix it up in front, try to take advantage of it. On the inside, I'm just trying to squeeze that throttle on and not able to do it. As the car behind jumps to the inside. Really tough to go 2x2 through there. He's going to get the spot on me. So it looked like an opportunity. I tried. I like arguing with Jim as he berates me for making mistakes, but just that quickly, it goes from thinking you're going to gain a spot to losing one, maybe two. I got another car right behind me here, leaving in second gear here. I feel like I'm just getting a ton of wheel spin in first, but still the exit a little bit slow there. I'd love to use the paddle shifters on this car. I think having two hands on the wheel around here would be nice, but these cars did have sequential sticks and not paddles, so we're going to keep it realistic. It's a bit late on the brakes again. Oh, a car off in front.
Tire temps are good.
Car behind. Thought he was going to go for it there. Get it. I'm off the pace a little bit, but we've had a lot to contend with here in the first few laps, and I can definitely feel that flat spot now. That was a bad lockup. Try to back things up here and slow down a little bit. We're in 13th, right about where I started. I gained a couple spots on the line there.
Keep them behind you. You need to watch your left side tire temperatures.
We should hopefully make it, I would say 13 laps or so.
8 more laps out of this set of tires.
Alright, there we go. 8 more laps on the tires. So that'll get us right about lap 12, which is a bit early to make it on a two-stopper. If I stop blocking it up, maybe we'll be able to actually extend that a bit further. Hoping for about 14 laps, that would be ideal. So these guys, once again, having a lot of difficulties through the chicane. Looks like the real Roberto Moreno up there.
That lap time was 107.36. Sector 3 is 1.6 off the pace.
Car behind's going to get a launch up the inside, up to the top of the hill. Lock up again. So difficult to keep them behind.
The gap in front is now 1.2 seconds.
If I can break this slipstream, I should be able to pull away hopefully and give myself some clear track. So as you can see, I mean, the competition is definitely there. I'm running the AI on 110%, which is...
was at 106.84.
it's a little bit lower than I used to run them. Ryza, with this update, have extended the range that the AI can go. So 120%, which is the max, is a bit faster. Try not to, but it's tough when they're that close. 120% is a bit faster than it used to be, and the lower end is slower. So overall, you have a little bit more options with the different cars. Something that, though, that I still notice is the case, which used to be as well, so this isn't anything new, but they still are different track to track, whereas I'm running them 110% here. I was running them at Laguna Seca and had to have them a little bit more like 114, 116 to make them competitive. And I was really hoping that the tracks would be a little more balanced. I'm sure for some cars they are, so cut the track just slightly. Don't tell anybody. I'm sure for the IMSA content, which is really one of the big focuses of this update, things are maybe a little bit more consistent track to track, but for these cars, it still seems to be the case that some tracks are a bit faster than other ones with the cars. And I did originally want to do this video at Laguna Seca, but found a weird bug where on the very first lap of the race only, so touch the curbing there, you don't want to do that. I run a bit wide at the top of the hill, I missed the turn in, side by side. Get on the throttle. Yeah, Laguna Seca, the very first lap of the race only. Didn't happen in qualifying, didn't happen in practice, but the very first lap of the race, everybody brake checks and basically comes to a stop between turns 4 and 5. After the first lap, they're fine. And I considered going with it, but I did encounter that at other tracks, and I'm sure it's just an odd quirk of that one that can be patched out. But yeah, it's little stuff like that. There's still... You're going to have to, test the AI at every track and figure out what's going to work for you. It's going to be a little bit less of just set it and forget it than I was hoping. All right, I think I got my tires cooled back down, which is good, but that left front is definitely hurting, and we might want to pit a little bit on the early side just to give myself a new set of tires. We can't pit too early. I think lap 13 would be the earliest I'd want to pit. Maybe 12. Could put a little bit more fuel. Like I said, I didn't fill it up. Put 120 liters in. So we have another 15 or so liters we could put in on a stop, which should get me about 2 laps, I think.
Don't be pressured. Keep your exit smooth.
Things are stringing out nicely now. So another thing that they've added with this update...
You've got about 4 laps of fuel left.
Another thing they've added is the mistake percentage, which I love to see, because that's something I think myself, even for different kind of cars, I'd want a different amount of mistakes. But I think that controls, whether or not a car is going to miss a corner or have a lockup or have a spin even, a solo spin or something like that. You can now control that right next to the difficulty setting. So I've actually got it on 50% here. Oh, as we have something happening in front, just as I'm talking about mistakes, maybe somebody had a little bit of a spin there or something. Just the shift up to second, but still going to have a good launch. So there's a very slow car in the middle here, the 19. Behind me, I can see a little bit of contact.
A bit of wear on your left rear. We're seeing significant wear on your left front.
Elbows out. Able to get through that. I think bigger calamity behind. I'll have to see after the race.
The gap in front has increased to 1.4 P10.
I did turn off.
Fuel left.
I did turn off.
0.6 off the pace.
I did turn off full course cautions for this because I did want to see it play out as a full race strategy, but you can imagine some incidents like this happening in real Indy cars. We'll go, I think, 3 wide there for a moment. Whoa, I'm going to get a whack to the tire. This car in front, man, I have them on medium aggression, and that means that some cars will be more aggressive than others, but you can definitely tell that some of the drivers are very aggressive here. So come up the inside of this car in front. Seems a bit off the pace. That gets me into 10th, so I've got that top 10 at least right now. But it's been anything but clean to get up here. I've said this for a long time now, that this game just makes me feel like I'm in a movie when I'm driving it. I feel a little bit like, not quite to the extremes that I'm in the movie Driven right now, but maybe something like Rush, where there's just a lot of stuff happening all the time. You feel like you can maybe catch a slide a little bit more than you would ought to be in.
2 more laps of fuel.
You know, then you'd ought to be in maybe another sim. I've got 2 laps of fuel left. I'll have to check my pit settings here. I think I've got it set up for full tanks. I'm going to be really happy to get this left front off. It looks like it's going to want me to come in on lap 13, but we did do the out lap, or the formation lap, before the green, so should save a little bit more fuel on the next stints.
We're seeing minor wear on your rear tyres. Your left front showing some wear. Keep an eye on it.
So far, so good. The AI are super fast, but they're also still staying out, so maybe they're going to be on the right strategy. We'll see here in just a moment.
Error is pitting.
And they're pitting. Lap 11. That's quite early to pit.
Roche is now leading. Okay, Jake. Hold your nerve. Just keep it smooth. No mistakes.
That is very early to be pitting to make it on a 2-stop.
Tyre temps are good.
We got one more here. Yeah, most folks are pitting, so it's actually going to help me out to have a nice clean pit lane.
I think you'll be out of fuel on the next lap.
Alright, we'll signal that we're coming in.
Requested.
One car right behind me here. He's going to look up the inside.
Pits at the end of this lap. Box this lap.
Gets that rush of speed at the top of the hill. I mean, it's a little bit more than you'd expect. I feel like they can just do things that I wouldn't be able to do.
24. We think he'll come out just behind you.
All right. Found the predictions of the crew chief to not be great, but that's nothing with AMS2. All right. Just look here real quick at our dashboard.
The leader, Roche, is pitting.
Oh, we definitely want tires.
We don't expect any traffic on the pit exit. When we exit the pits, we should be in position 21, a few seconds behind Papis.
All right.
Ready. Rowe is now in the lead. Venus.
Come into the pits here. It's a weird entry. We're going to get phased into. Always catches me off guard. All right, this will give us full fuel and tires. Just got selected on that. So come in. My God, I still avoid the AI, even though you don't actually have to in this. I suppose it's better than there being massive accidents in the pit lane, but it still always catches me off guard how much people phase in and out of each other. All right, we're still bouncing up and down, unfortunately, which has been a bug in this for forever. We won't even try to get around the other cars. All right, pit limiter's on, and I'm just going to be ahead of the car behind, but I bet you, we'll watch here, I bet you he gets me on the exit because they're just really good at it.
All clear, push now.
Here he comes.
Cold, careful.
Oh, I do not like when they're inside like that. And it's not clear either all the time when the AI, will be done phasing in and out of each other. It's just a bit ambiguous, but it is what it is. Come out. I've noticed the left front tire is still flat spotted looking. I don't feel it in the wheel anymore though, so it's going to stick with us, I guess, for the rest of the race. The memory of that flat spot. We'll try not to trash this set of tires like I did the last one. Supposedly we're in 9th right now. So things are working out. Made up a couple spots through the pit cycle and some of the carnage during the first stint there. So far, I'm having a lot of fun with this. It's very action-packed, though.
Papis is closing the gap. It's now 0.38.
It's interesting. We've got real Max Papis, but it looks like Pip's actually in the timer. So crew chief just helping me feel immersed. Now, as we were in the first stint by a car, now by Max Papis' Ghost. All right, that was decent through the first sector. The new tires, I can definitely feel them. They're coming up to temp now, and they're so much better than the ones I came off of. I said this a lot during the testing and the video I made for the 1.53 update with the high-tech formula cars, that I really just feel like you can tell the difference between a used and new set of tires in this sim, more so than other sims I've played, where yes, you get less grip with older tires, but there's something about this that just gives you that sense that they're trashed a bit more. They slide more, they're maybe a bit rougher, and they've got flat spots and things now. It's fun to experience that full cycle. Alright, we found ourselves a nice little open bit of track here, which is nice. It's down a couple of gears. So in addition to some of those AI parameters and things, something else they've added is just a lot more logic around blue flags and how the AI behave in different sessions. Run to the top of the hill. AI are more likely to let each other by in practices when they're on in-laps and out-laps, and especially in multi-class racing, which I have not tested a ton yet since quite a while in the beta. But they've done a lot of refinement on multi-class, as you could expect with all the IMSA stuff. So now cars in the GT classes and the prototypes should behave better with each other, hopefully. That's the idea anyway. But I definitely notice it in this in practice and qualifying, where if a car is coming out of the pits, it's much less likely to block somebody. I would still, though, recommend, if you're trying to get some pretty well gridded races and not having too mixed of a field.
Keep the inside line covered. That lap was at 105.46.
Thank you, Jim. Yeah, I'd still recommend having private qualifying on if you're really concerned about cars getting blocked in qualifying, because it can still spoil some of the faster cars' laps, but it might actually add some nice shake-up to your grids. You just might find that you yourself can out-qualify cars more often that way. But it's good the options exist for it. I'm excited to see what some of the skin pack and mod creators do with the new parameters. Like I said, I'm not running the mod for the 2000 season, which is a beautiful mod, by the way, but I'm not running it because I want to see the default parameters and everything. And those mods do overwrite the driver behaviors, and they haven't necessarily been built with, the updated settings and things in mind. So I'm sure they work fairly well, but you might not be getting the same experiences that you would get. And I know those folks will definitely be tinkering around with everything, and it'll be fun to see what comes out of it.
Lap time was at 105.56.
Seems like I can do those 105.4s pretty well, but not going to be able to get into the 104s unless we burn off some fuel here and still have decent tires. Chucking the car around, though, it is so much fun. I always have a lot of fun driving this sim, racing this sim. Even random cars and tracks and things. I did another LFM race. I made the video about the Group A cars and doing the first one I ever did, but I actually did a GT1 class race at Spa, and it was so much fun sliding those cars around. The qualifying session for it was actually in the wet. Whoa. There we go, big wag coming out of the corner. Qualifying was in the wet, which I think caught a few folks out online, but then the race itself was basically dry. I think it started off slightly moist and dried out pretty quickly. All ran slick tires. And it was fun. We had a good little packed race. I kind of wish I had recorded that one, because the racing itself was a lot better, but that is the nature of online racing, and why offline racing is...
That lap was at 105.34.
It's often such a good option, because you can have a race whenever you want it, and ideally...
That's good consistency, keep it up.
All right, thank you, Jim. Ideally, the race itself offline will be really consistent. Oh, I almost spin the car out there. It's been a little bit easier to stay in front of Pappas behind than whoever was behind me in that first stint, but try to catch this car in front. I feel like I'm just on the edge of being able to catch him. Not quite close enough to get that slipstream here.
Laptops is now leading.
I've raced these cars quite a lot, though, and I've made a few videos. I don't think I've ever done a video with this 2000 set, but the 95 and the 98s. And like I had said in my last video with the Group A cars. The whole sim itself just feels like it's been refined, and everything has had a little bit of a touch to it, but it's not drastically different in every way. The car is maybe slightly better to drive feeling. The AI is slightly better in some situations. The sim, I think, looks quite a lot nicer. The colors are much more natural. But nothing, some of the content is new with the IMSA stuff. That's probably the biggest changes. But if you liked the sim before, I think you'll probably love it now, or like it even more. And if you didn't like it, I mean, it's still the same sim, so temper your expectations. But I have found a lot of enjoyment in AMS2 over the past few years, and it's still there. It's definitely still there. I just cannot get closer to Marceau in front of me in 8th place here. It seems like so far everybody's doing a decent strategy. We're just about halfway through the race.
Just done a 104.62.
The leaders are just much, much faster than I'm capable of going. As well slide it there. That's one of the reasons. Stuff like that feels like something that maybe should have resulted in a spin, but I'm basing as I feel like most folks are, they're basing...
We're halfway home. Should be about 7 laps of fuel remaining.
Alright, 7 more laps, that's good.
105.06.
Yeah, I feel like, everybody's basing what they know off of other sims that they play, or at least I am. So, yeah, I probably wouldn't be able to catch that kind of slide that I had in the chicane and in iRacing. But I'm not convinced that that's super realistic either.
Is increasing. It's now 1.0.
Third gear here. I'll try first gear again. Just have to be really careful on the throttle, but I can definitely get the launch. Wow.
The gap ahead is now.
Ooh, another car stopped on the left there. I think they're a lap down though. Maybe somebody else having issues. I'll come across the line. So over halfway into the race, and I'm knock on wood, but there's been one other pretty major issue I've been having with 1.6, and that's performance. The sim, as you can see, hopefully, is performing beautifully, and that's one of the strengths of AMS2. I feel like, especially for people that play VR, but it seems to run really well. No matter the things you throw at it, you could be running tons of AI and bad weather and long races, and everything just kind of hums along. It's been one of the really, really nice things about this game. But introduced in this update, there seems to be some kind of memory issue, and it seems specifically to happen if you restart a race, which, knock on wood, I won't have to do here. But, a certain distance into a restarted race, the performance just degrades over time, and it gets to the point that it's really unplayable. And that never used to happen, so it has to be something related to this update, and hopefully something that can be fixed. It doesn't seem to affect anything if you've just loaded up the sim and jumped into a session. It's if you're, for me anyway, if I'm restarting races.
105.32.
5.3. Knock on wood, I don't get it here, because so far this race is pretty decent. At least I'm holding on to it. Haven't spun out yet, which is good. I had some folks ask as well about force feedback and things. I really have not tinkered with the settings a ton with my DD. I'm running a CSL DD, and I just use the default plus profile, so slide the tires there a bit. One of the profiles in the game that's built in, default plus, use that, and I tune the gain up and down, and that's what I run. I don't. I've never been one that's been super specific with force feedback.
1.2 seconds.
Play a lot of old games that don't even have it, so I'm maybe not the authority on it. But yeah, I actually feel like the force feedback in AMS2 is great. It's been great for a while. Definitely feel the whole surface of the track and what's going on.
You got about 4 laps of fuel left. Was that 105?
4 laps. All right, we're looking good.
Keep it up.
We might need to add just slightly more in our stop to make sure we get to the end. opposite there. The car, I can feel the tires wearing out. You just punish the lefts around this track a bit more than the rights, just with the nature of it, but they progress nicely as long as you don't trash them like I did in the first stint. Alright, we'll see here. Yeah, I will add just a bit more fuel so that there's no excuses. I'm not going to run out of fuel again. If you were here at the time of recording this yesterday for my online race, it just didn't have quite enough at the end. It was such an exciting race though. Don't want to become known as the guy that runs out of fuel. Right, there's some cars in the pits, which 16 laps. I don't think I'd be able to do 16 laps. So either they're short fueling and doing a 3-stop on purpose, or they've miscalculated. If folks are stopping with 1 or 2 laps to go, I just think you could have calculated that better. And I would see that more as a flaw in the AI than teams miscalculating. If you have one team do it, then that would be kind of immersive, but when half the grid might pit with a lap or 2 to go, that feels more like a problem, but we'll see. I'm not going to call it a problem yet, but it just feels like 16 laps would be a long ways to go. Up to 7th though, and I think I was 8th before, or 9th, so a couple cars are pitting already. Front pits, we'll stay out. Got 20 liters left, should be able to do 2 laps.
P3, 2 laps of fuel remaining. That was at 105.40.
I'll put a link to Crew Chief in the description of the video if you've never used it before. It's pretty easy, like I said, to install, and it I think creates a lot of immersion with this type of thing. Let's get somebody kind of talking you through the whole race, which is, especially for this era, very accurate. I turn off the spotter, because you can have a spotter that tells you if a car is left or right, which for oval racing in this, even in this era, I'm not sure they quite had spotters yet. I think they were just starting to, but they weren't quite the same as we know as a modern spotter. But you can have one if you want, so if you're doing modern IndyCar stuff, which this game has, you can have that type of experience.
Front is pitting.
And I think AMS2 themselves have a spotter in the game, which I honestly haven't tried, and maybe I should give it a go. But I've always liked Crew Chief so much that it's kind of fulfilled that need for me. Alright, we'll come around one more lap. Maybe I'll get to lead one. Yeah, P1.
You're leading. This is the last lap of fuel.
Last lap of fuel, we'll hit pit.
Okay, pit stop requested.
Make sure we come in this time.
Okay, Jake, in this lap, box this lap.
Hopefully I won't have anybody phasing through me this time.
Jordan has retired from the race.
A retirement. That's one thing I've noticed with the default cars, that the retirements are quite low. If you use some of the custom packs, especially with like the 80s and 90s F1 stuff, there's a ton of retirements, which I love. I think it's very immersive and realistic to have cars blowing engines everywhere. Creates some havoc on the track, but that's to be expected. Alright, we've got Paul Racy behind me, which I can only imagine who that is. We'll see. I'm sure they're going to pass me here, but if they've got to pit one more time, who knows? Be interested to see where I finish.
Expect traffic when you exit the pits. On exit, we should be in position 8, just behind Venus. Pit crew is ready.
Alright, come over the top of the hill. Practiced this a few times, but there we go. Down 120 kilometers per hour is the speed limit I've put on. Whoa, almost hit the wall there. We'll come in. And I slid super long. Oh no. There we go. I've been messing up my pit stops and everything lately. I did a IndyCar 2 race a few weeks ago, or last week, where I missed the pit boxes several times. Something to work on, I guess. It's going to cost me a little bit. We'll see what happens here. 7th place right now.
Go, go, go.
At least I didn't install it. 9th place now. Oh. We'll see what happens here as I come out of the pits.
Watch your mirrors. There's a car approaching.
You can hear him just to the left there. There he goes. Oh, a couple cars down to 11th. I can't imagine that rolling forward cost me that much. Definitely these 2 spots, but we'll see. We'll gotta get them back. Gotta get the tires up to temperature though. I'm on cold tires right now, and they're likely been out at least a couple of laps. It feels so sluggish on full fuel and everything. I've got a little more fuel in it than I've had the rest of the race because I just want to be sure we're going to make it the rest of the way. Down to first gear. So far so good in this race. A lot of drama in the first part of the race before the first pit stop and everything, but now that everybody's spread out, it's quite calm. If you put safety cars on,
reeling you in. The gap is now 0.7.
I imagine we would have had a safety car there at the beginning, and it probably would have kept things pretty packed up and could have played out like a pretty realistic race. I'll have to do a full distance race at some point with safety cars and all that, maybe as a stream if people would be interested in it.
The 11th.
That once with what was the car behind. I think this is the actual Roberto Moreno, the super sub himself. It's all over my gearbox. I'm trying not to, but it's Roberto Moreno. You couldn't blame him, man. Accelerate away. We got 12 laps to go, and yeah, we should have enough fuel. So we're rated at about 120 liters now. I'm expecting at least a few cars to have to pit again. Whoa, we got a car stop to the left there. That was the Shell car, Kenny Breck. We're up to 10th then. Skill and pace alone. Moreno's looking up the inside. He is a lot faster than me.
105.42.
He's on lighter fuel. That would make sense, though. I was going to have to give him the spot.
Oh, bad luck, Jake. Come on, don't let him get away.
Jim makes you feel bad about it, too. I have myself telling me how bad that was, and not only that, but Jim chimes in. I just can't keep up with that. He is very, very quick. We'll hope it pays off, though. Maybe he's on super light fuel and he has to pit again. It's fun. I'm having a good time with this. It is very difficult, and I could tune the AI back a bit to make it easier, but even at this ultra competitive, I kind of like when you're in the middle of the pack. I think anytime I win an offline race by a long distance,
0.9.
it feels a bit cheap.
That's the new fastest lap for Thompson, 104.32.
That car is still sitting there. Maybe they'll leave it there. That'd be pretty interesting. They used to do that a lot, especially in Europe, but in IndyCar as well, on road circuits. If
What's going on, mate? Come on, get your act together.
The car broke down.
106.62.
If a car broke down, it would be sitting next to the fence for the rest of the race, sometimes in pretty precarious spots. I was actually recently reliving a crash Mario Andretti had, I believe at the 1990 Toronto Grand Prix, where there was a stopped car basically right before the hairpin at the end of the long straight. And they left it there. I have to imagine it was pretty late in the race, but he had a colossal accident just trying to pass somebody, being unsighted. Get up the inside here. Bit of a lunge.
Has just retired.
Push him out onto the curb, but he should have let me have that anyway. Mr. Trundle. Yeah, but stuff like that was ultra dangerous, and it's tough looking back now that they even allowed it. Whole pack of cars in front here. This could get quite interesting. All right, we're on lap 30 now. Just 11 more. It's quite a long race. Have to imagine this would be, I mean, it definitely is a tiring, exhausting circuit for drivers in real life. In downforce cars specifically, it's just such a high-speed course. But at the speeds we're doing here, it would take a superhuman.
Gap to Frost behind us now.
All right, a couple slow cars then. Some lap traffic to contend with, keeps it interesting towards the end. In front of one of them at least. Experience maybe a little bit of this blue flag logic, I'm not sure. Seems like Moreno's getting caught up with this car as well. Oh, and I'm going to get boxed in here. Oh!
bad, mate.
See if we can nurse it around to the pits.
Speed limit. Okay, Jake. We expect there'll be no traffic on exit. We should come out into position 17, a few seconds in front of Rocher.
Well, I think that's what you get for following a car that close, but he definitely just brake checked me. And we'll have to sit him for the repairs because that absolutely toasted the suspension on the car. And I think that's going to be really the end of being any sort of competitive in this race. So I spent 2 minutes on pit lane, and I've come out now, and I think I'm 3 laps down from the leaders. And some folks are pitting now, so they're pitting with, I think it was about 6 laps to go when they started pitting, so it's pretty late. So not the best strategy, especially because I was able to make it on a 2-stopper. Definitely would have made it on a 2-stopper. But it was really a bit of a shame of a way to end the race. I would probably typically re-record this or do it differently, because that's not a great way to end something like this, but it is what happened.
Come out a little way behind you.
Oh, and I might actually pass somebody here in the final stages, so some excitement. Yeah, but to have a car just essentially jump off the throttle mid-straight, unless he had an issue, which I guess he very well could have. Who knows? Who knows the reason? It could just be that they were trying to let the car go, Moreno go, who was on his left, which is, I think, what was actually happening, but we can, in our heads, say that they blew an engine. But little stuff like that, it just, overall, I still enjoy this experience, but it's stuff like that that just kind of sours it once in a while. So we got cars exiting the pits. This is, I think, 12th place in front of me, so we do not need to worry about him. I guess we're going for the not last, though. A couple cars DNF'd. We did have 27 on the start. But still a pretty awful result for what was a really fun race for the first couple of stints there. Great combo, though. I recommend trying out Road Atlanta with the IndyCars, and I'll be searching around for some other combos to try with some of the other cars. I'd like to test out the high-tech Formula cars again somewhere. If you have any suggestions of racetracks, I can do that and just see if those have changed very much since I did them really about a year ago now. I'd like to also look at some of the newer IMSA stuff, and I don't know if I'll make a video about that, but I guess if you'd be interested in it, also let me know. It's not usually my type of thing, but it is the hot stuff right now in this game, so
2 to go.
You can, I guess, get the opinions of somebody who really doesn't know what they're talking about with that kind of thing. Down to second gear, just a few more laps to go. I do just get enjoyment of driving these cars around. It's kind of why I wanted to even finish this race. The track has an amazing flow to it, and when you don't have to spend the entire race looking in your mirrors.
The gap is 1.1 seconds.
We are actually gaining on Trundle. We'll see. We'll give ourselves a carrot. We'll see if we can catch Trundle in front of us. Yeah, but when you don't have to spend the entire lap looking in your rearview mirrors at a car under your gearbox, it's a lot more enjoyable. All right, there he is. You see the 2 cars in front of Franchitti here in front of us. is who we're going for to get 23rd.
White flag, last lap. Sectors 2 and 3 are 0.38 off the pace. Sector 1 is 0.7 off the pace.
We don't have a lot of time to do this. I should have pretty good tires compared to some of these guys, just only having done a few laps, but I am relatively full of fuel. Of course, I forgot to take the fuel out as we rushed into the pit lane there. He's going to look to the outside of Trundle here. I've learned my lesson following very closely behind a car. Oh, lock a left front. Try to do this coming onto the straight. Oh, make a bit of contact. I guess that's par for the course. A great way to end it by hitting another car. We'll come down the straight though and just finish out the lap. Man, not the best race, huh? Started off pretty promising, but fell apart there in the middle. I'd have to say, not my doing. I won't take credit for that one. But still, interesting improvements. You'll see, I think my general opinion is that things aren't super different than they used to be, but there's some small changes which I think have all been positive, but there's still some things that could definitely use some fixing. I won't say that the AI brake checking in the middle of the straight is something I've experienced too much, so it's not at the top of my list, but definitely the memory issue, because it just makes it really difficult to do anything significant in this. I'm sure they will fix that. I'm confident they will. But that's got to be number one. And then I still would love to see the AI actually set up a pass and actually make a pass in a braking zone rather than trying to do it mid-corner, as they still seem to do, at least in these cars. But I'll try some other stuff out. Like I said, let me know, if there's anywhere specific you'd like to see the high-tech cars, or even modern IMSA, if there's any other car class or something that you're especially curious. My thoughts on if they matter at all. But yeah, CART at Road Atlanta, crazy stuff, and it was a lot of fun despite the incidents in the middle there. I hope it was fun to watch, but I think that's it for now. So this is GP Laps, and I'll see you all again next time.